What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel. Joining me today is a former Ring of Honor World Six-Man Tag Team Champion. This man is entering his sixth year in the wrestling business. He is a member of Shane Taylor Promotions, and also he is a Minnesota native. This is Kaun. Kaun, what's going on, boss man? How you feeling?
How's it going? I'm doing pretty good. Actually entered my fifth year. I've only
Fifth
been
year.
doing this
Okay.
for 4.5, 5 years, man. So I'm still new to the game.
Okay. Now, no, I mean, for 5 years, I think that's a that you in it. You in the thick of it right now. I think that's the best way to put it. You in the thick of it. You in the thick of it. But like you say, we just mentioned, you just clarified it. 5 years in, has it been kind of crazy to know and sort of realize how much time has gone by and how much you've grown since the start of your career?
Oof, I think I had that moment at Final Battle. Like I kind of broke down in tears after our match, and I was just like, because I was on Ring of Honor for 3 years, and that just like flew by so quickly. My time in the dojo just flew by. It's crazy that I started this journey back in 2017. Like now here I am into my fifth year, and like I've just been fortunate enough to been signed to a company and kind of making my way. I haven't really had to struggle in the indies too much, so it's kind of like trying to humbling myself. Like, damn, I've only been doing this for just such a short time, but like people have been in this game for like 15 years and still
Yeah.
grinding it out. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and say I think your 2021, I think things really started to like kick in the overdrive for you a little bit. Like things started to pick up in 2021. Like, did you sort of have that feeling and realize like sort of like things started to really kick up in your career, and at the end of 2021, did you sort of have any time to like really think back and reflect on what you've accomplished, or were things just like on go mode, just 24/7?
it honestly just go. Like it's
Yeah.
been go has always ended, and like now that AEW opportunities are coming up. But like last year, I moved to Texas back in April, and I think that's when I kind of like stepped on the gas pedal. I was in Baltimore for a couple of years. That's where I was doing most of my training with the ROH Dojo, MCW, and like independents really weren't running out there, so it's kind of stagnant. Like we were doing ROH every 6 weeks, 2 months or so for TV tapings, but I wasn't getting the reps and experience that I really wanted. So then once I moved down to Texas, like every week I was booked. I was driving all over the place and trying to really get on that step on that gas pedal, get people to know who I am, and like slowly, so like my stock has just been growing. So now going to 2022, it's just going to continue to rise.
And of course, like you mentioned that you moved to Texas. Was that more so like, I mean, I think you already touched on it, but like moving to Texas was more so of a decision, like you felt like it was going to be more opportunities there opposed to being in, or were you residing in Maryland prior to that?
Yeah, I was in
Yeah,
Baltimore.
yeah, you said both. Yeah, okay.
Like COVID, like it kind of killed the indie scene out on the East Coast. We really weren't running shows often. And then I came to Texas like twice, and I saw they were running shows down here. And I never really had the indie experience out on the East Coast. For some reason, when Moses and I would try to get booked places, we just weren't getting booked.
Right.
And I was, okay, well, I've been doing the tag team thing for a little bit. I kind of want to spread my wings. And Joey Mercury, one of the guys that coached me, was like, you don't really grow and learn this business if you don't have the experience just hitting those towns, driving, wrestling all over the place for like barely any money in front of nobody. But that's how you really learn and grow and hone your craft as a professional wrestler. And I wanted that experience. So I kind of set my mind to some things, and I just say these things out loud to have these goals, and I just go do it. And then I ended up moving there.
Okay. So was it kind of scary taking that leap, like, moving from a place that you're like, you're comfortable and the area, the surroundings, like, was it, I mean, and of course you mentioned that you've been to Texas before, but was it kind of like like an inner, like scary thing? You packing up everything, you taking a chance, like it's like a sink or swim at this point.
Not too much, honestly. I've lived in
Oh, for real?
Minnesota. I lived out in
Okay.
California a little bit, moved to Baltimore. It was kind of like nerve-wracking trying to find a place.
All right.
But like I've been fortunate enough to be in a place in my life where like I packed my stuff up and then I just hired a company to do the rest for me. And I'm like, all right, y'all take care. That's probably the most stressful part is packing all your stuff.
Right.
You realize how much stuff you have. And I was living by myself. I just had my dog. Like, damn, man, like it's a lot. You're kind of starting all over. But Moses kind of brought it up one time in one of his interviews. Like, I look at myself as a nomad. I don't like staying in places too long. I don't want to get too comfortable. I like meeting people and having life experiences.
That's
In my
cool.
mind, I'm only here for a short period of time. So why not try to live all over the country? If I could move to Canada one time in my life or move overseas, like why not have those experiences and just grow as a person?
That's cool, man. I like that mindset. I like that mindset. But sort of shifted back over to Ring of Honor. Like I mentioned, you are a former six-man tag team champion. I think along with Shane Taylor and Moses and O'Shea Edwards were swapping in and out from time to time. I think you guys are like I want to say the second longest reigning ROH World Tag Team Champions of all time. I think you got to tie with the Kingdom for that. Like when you look back at that run, man, you know, the pay-per-views, the different title defenses, being able to take the titles over to the independent scene and defend it there and wear those belts there. Like I'm pretty sure that title run that you guys had definitely holds some weight with you, and it definitely has to mean something special.
Oh yeah, like we made history with that, and I don't think the trios titles got as much respect as they deserved. I think people looked at them like a secondary title in ROH, but yet we were the only ones who were truly defending those belts. It seemed like every TV taping, or we told them we're going to take this on independence to defend them. If we don't have any six-man teams here that can beat us, then we're going to go find our own competition if you're not going to win that competition for us. And honestly, in my mind, other than like the Mexican squad holding those belts, and they never defended them over the COVID period, like we have the longest reign. In my mind, like we're going to go down in history as the greatest six-man unit in history. And like I've said this before, we made six-man wrestling relevant again. So I'll stand by that claim.
I feel that. But like I just wanted to sort of follow up on that. Like, do you have any like certain matches, like either from the independent scene or ones that you had in Ring of Honor that you know really come to mind or really stick out to you when you think about that that six-man tag title run?
Oh man. Probably winning them. The first one's probably winning them from Mexican Squad because we were supposed to have that title match prior. I think something happened with Bandito getting COVID again, and like that got scrapped. So like, oh, but like we knew we had it in our grasp when that happened. And then probably, I don't know if it was the title defense. Whenever we got to wrestle that foundation, and like really sitting back and thinking about, we got to wrestle with Jay Lethal, one of the greatest wrestlers in the modern era, in my opinion. Jonathan Gresham, who was just ranked as one of the top 10 best wrestlers in the world. Like we got to be in the rings with these legends in the making. And like, to me, I was like, oh, I'm kind of nervous. Like these are two guys who are like been at ROH and amazing people. But then you think about like the pedigree that these two people have. No disrespect to like Tracy Williams, Rhett Titus. These two are tremendous wrestlers in their own right. But like Lethal and Gresham, also being black wrestlers, like has also helped train us at points of times in the dojo. That was probably like they did so much for us that they didn't have to do. And I remember just like the moment of standing in the ring with Lethal and people on tour were like, oh, I want to see that singles match. I'm like, shit, so I want to wrestle him too.
You want to know what I really like about that six-man tag title run you guys have is like, and I mentioned O'Shea being able to swap in and out. Like I really like that you guys can really be like, you guys are like really interchangeable within the group. Like you can put this person, you can put X right here and X right here, and then it like you guys still have like the same amount of chemistry. Like what do you think? Would you sort of attribute that to you guys being cool outside of the ring and it just naturally translates on screen that you can be Shane, O'Shea, and Moses, or it could be you, O'Shea and Shane, like the different mixes, like would you accredit that to know you guys being tight outside of the ring and that just naturally translates over to what you guys do on screen?
I think so, definitely. Like the camaraderie we had outside of the ring, and then especially with like O'Shea, we got to train with him at the dojo. So we were having Moses and I were practice matches against this dude all the time. So we already had this bond. And then we bring in Shane, and then when we were on the road for these TV tapings, we were always together. So like, and I think for O'Shea too, there was a couple shows that like I couldn't make where he swapped in, or like he swapped it for Shane. For him particularly, like this is an opportunity to show yourself, to like get this contract. But hey, like I can hold my weight too, and I'm not just here part of SDP, but like I deserve to be on paper as well. Right. And like I think he had those opportunities that he had, and he's like y'all aren't missing a beat. Like we're right here. Like this is the Freeburg rule with us, so we're gonna go defend those titles. We're not gonna lose, and no one's gonna lose a step.
You know, it's crazy. So I remember back in this had to be February 2020. Jesus, that was 2 years ago. I was at the ROH Free Enterprise show when you guys had the dark match against Marcus Cross and Griff Garrison, and then I remember you guys made your on screen. I mean, not that much on screen because you had doing work with Ring of Honor prior to that, but like you guys made the run in. You guys beat up Slex. It was you, Shane Taylor, and Moses. Y'all beat up Slex. But like for me to watching, like of course I know you guys were doing stuff with Ring of Honor for like a whole year prior to that, but like that felt like the moment when the Sons of Savagery like really like arrived in Ring of Honor, because like you know I felt like I know you guys had different highlights and different special moments in 2019 and when you debuted in Ring of Honor, but like that was the moment where it felt like like they here now. And like did you kind of feel that way from what you can remember, or do you feel like you guys had that moment prior to that?
I think that was one of like the first moments, because like you said, we were like on TV just kind of squashing people, but we didn't really have any direction. So we had that dark match, which is hilarious to see where like things have happened with Griff Garrison being at AEW. I'm like, times have changed. And we had that, especially being in Baltimore, like you could feel the energy with the crowd there. But I know for Moses and I, like I don't think we felt it until we wrestled the Briscoes last year, because that was the true test. And like those are the two people that you want to get in the ring with. Like, all right, if you can hold your own with these two men, like the baddest tag team in ROH history, like one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Okay, they've arrived. They have their place in the tag team division here.
Mm-hmm. And something else I wanted to talk to you about, you mentioned dojos and stuff about the ROH dojo, but I also wanted to talk about Maryland Championship Wrestling, man. I know you're one of the many talents that have links to that promotion. Sort of talk to me about Dan McDevitt, man. Just the environment and MCW and how that promotion has helped shape you as an individual and also helped shape you as a wrestler.
Oh man, it's ironic that you asked it, just because like Joppa is closing right now, so they're moving.
Yeah.
I wanted to be at that last show. It just didn't work out. Dan's a great guy. I've only like talked to him a handful of times, and he's not really there when like people are trained. That was Dean Guttridge, RJ Meyer. That I think like, man, choosing to be a professional wrestler, especially for me, like at the age that I started doing this, you don't ever really get to places in your life where you're relearning stuff. Like you learn stuff in school, right? But then you sign to be a professional wrestler like at 27 and you suck at something and you're learning. Have like other grown men yelling at you that you suck and like they want you to be better. If that didn't teach me anything about like personal toughness and perseverance and like a grind, it was only 2 days a week, but it was like work 9 to 5, drive an hour, go train for 4 hours, drive home, and like just trying to soak in as much knowledge as possible because it's something that I was super passionate about. That has like made me and transformed me into the man that I'm in today. Like if people who've met me back then, I'm like this pretty introverted, quiet dude. And like they see the person that I am on screen now, and they're like, those are two completely different people. Like just the amount of growth that I've had in the years that I was there. Man, that's probably one of the best schools to have ever been to. I've got to train at a couple other schools in San Antonio, but like from the pedigree that MCW has and the stars that have come out of there, clearly they're doing something right there with like the training regimen that they have, like the structure that they have, the support system that they have, the fact that they get to run their own independent shows there too and have like birthday party matches. I think that's a tremendous experience. Like I thought we did like 50 birthday parties before I got to do an actual show. So I was like somewhat comfortable in the ring. Man, it's one of the best schools. I cannot give any more praise to that place. MCW is one of the greatest places.
But when you say birthday parties, is that like because you know I've actually heard somebody from MCW actually say that before, and I thought they meant like an like an actual like like is that like code for like dark matches or something like that? Like what is that?
Kind of like so people can like rent out the venue and like have birthday parties for the kids there because if they love wrestling, they can have like this wrestling show, and the birthday kid will get to be like a part of the birthday match. But we actually put on a show for them. So like the first 3 matches are student matches. And like when you start getting reps in the ring, you get to go perform in front of kids. And like you can get over with a crowd of children. You can make them hate them, make them love you. Like you have something. You can get over with them and their parents. That's where you get your reps. And that's where you can try characters. That's where people like will try new entrances, different moves safely. Like kids are not going to be messed up. They're just excited to hear and like watch wrestling.
Right. Yeah.
Like, man, I would try to do as many of those as possible. There'd be like 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday, or like 4 Saturday, 4 Sunday, and get as many matches out as possible. And then we get to record them and then we put them like on our own private YouTube. And then you get to like do tape study on Tuesday. So you're not only getting to like get those reps in front of kids and like you're working your showmanship, but then you can watch your film back with the coaches the next week and then like just keep progressing that way.
That's actually smart. That's a smart way. So basically like a house show, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
That's I like that. That's like I'm talking about from like a business perspective. That's actually, and especially if you training people, that makes sense. Because I mean, everybody's not going to be like as soon as they come out the gate have like these like massive amount of bookings. So like maybe them doing that and performing in front of like children and stuff who their opinions are not going to be swayed. Like they don't like they just looking at what they see on the surface level. So I think that's smart, man. But like as we're talking about MCW, I'd be remiss not to mention the late RJ Meyer. I've heard so many people say so many good things about him, man. Like Leo Rush, I can name off a great deal of wrestlers that I've heard speak so highly of him. From your experiences with him and being at MCW, what do you think was it about RJ that made like this just great impact and this long lasting memory and effect that he's had on so many different people?
I know I can speak for myself personally, and I think probably Moses too. Like, we probably didn't have the best relationships with our fathers growing up, and like to have again, like you're a grown man and you're learning this new thing, and like you're getting yelled at all the time, but to see someone that doesn't even know who you are take such like a vested interest in you and not give up on you and push you. And like I remember I went through some tough times. I had people commit suicide in my life, or like going through like breakups and stuff, and you could call him at any time. He'd answer the phone. He would talk to you like, 'cause he genuinely cared about who you were as a person. Like, cool, he's trying to like make you succeed because you get to get back to school if you're great at wrestling. Like, he was just a great human being. Like, he was a dad to every student there.
Mm.
And the fact that he would show up no matter what he was going through, even when he was going through like his chemo treatments, he was still trying to be there. People would FaceTime him, go to the hospital to see him. And like, I remember when I first started, this dude was intimidating as fuck. Like, he's this big ass, like rest the bruiser screaming at people. And I remember I just kind of started showing up early by myself, and he was just like, "Oh, you're trying to be a machine, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I guess so." He was like, "All right, you can start doing extra cardio with these other dudes." And like the fact that someone just like, again, they don't want anything from you, but they're gonna push you and like invest his time into you. And like for something for me that like that just meant so much to me. Like I never felt like calling him, but I was like, "Hey, man, like I had no problem." Like something happened in my life, and like, all right, we're gonna come to training. Like, this is your family. Like, you're around these people so much. And I remember him telling me, like, once you get into wrestling, this is going to take over your life. Like, this is where your friends are. This is where your family is. If you need anybody for anything, you can call some of these people up. Like, it's such like a community-based thing. And like, he was the head of that table. Like, no one can replace that man there. And like, I can already tell that he's like truly missed because I don't know that was the place that RJ built was MCW. That was his house.
The way you speak about MCW and RJ, and even you just recall some of your short experiences with Dan. It makes it really easy to realize like why this promotion has been around so long and why they're so sturdy, man, and why they're such a key piece of the Maryland independent wrestling scene, and even just the independent scene in general. I'm pretty sure like I'm pretty sure like that promotion is something that you as a wrestler can even expect to be like still around 10, 15 years
So.
down the line, man. Like I really like hearing that stuff. And it just seems like MCW just has like a really good core that that's helped wrestlers like yourself.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I remember like after 2 years in, I was telling Dean, like, hey man, if I ever leave this place and get signed somewhere, like I'm gonna buy a couple new rings. Like I need to get back. Like I
Yeah.
have like, the rings I have are fine, but I was like, I'm old, my body hurts. Like I need to invest in this place. Like y'all invest in me. So like I'll give back what y'all need. I'll get it for you. Like, why not give back and help the students that are also helping pave this way? Like we came from MCW and like that's a pedigree that I have, and I want to go back and help these people get to the place that I am in my career now.
And sort of transitioning out of that, I wanted to ask you something about your you've had several name changes throughout your career. I know you were Bishop Kaun, but with the Khan, and then you transitioned to the Kaun that is currently spelled now. You were Bishop Kaun, and then you were Jasper Kaun, and then now you're just Kaun. Like, what was it something simple as like just Kaun as a standalone name just looks better and like I guess comes off better and it's easy to promote?
So my friend actually came up with the name. Bishop was my favorite X-Men growing up. So like it's hard to come up with like these wrestling names. You want to find something that's like kind of real, but not really real. So he came up with the name for me, like Genghis Khan. You think about this person that like destroyed and murdered hundreds of thousands of people. I was like, okay, Bishop Khan, like that's pretty dope. So I liked that. I stuck with that. The Jasper Khan came from Joey and Mercury feeling like when we signed our contracts, we needed to have like fake real names. And I'm like, they're not gonna. My name is gonna be Khan anyway. Like I don't need to have this. No one's zooming into this contract to see what my actual name is.
Like your name is gonna be like Chris.
Yeah, like let's just leave it as is. Because if we know our names are Moses and Khan, let's just leave it as is.
Yeah.
That came from what was it? Hawk and Animal, like this old school mentality about tag team wrestling and like barbaric, savage wrestlers who just had like the single word name. So I was like, okay, like Khan. And trying to find like Instagram, Twitter handles, V came into it. I was like, okay, like The Rock, the Khan, I like that. Like that kind of holds some weight to it. Now I feel like it kind of just fits. Like it is what it is now. It's going to be what it is. So yeah, just sticking with the Khan. Well, Khan, but like I said, the Khan because I'm talking to myself in third person.
Yeah, I think Khan looks good as like a standalone name. I think you finally found like the one. So yeah, I think you found the right one. But like going back to Ring of Honor in that moment that you guys had that final battle, yourself, the rest of STP, Kenny King, world famous CB, and Eli Isom were out there, black men standing in solidarity, all you guys had your fist in the air. I think it was really cool to see some of the in-person videos that were hit on social media, like people reacting to it positively. You know, you got your few clowns out there who, you know, but we ain't gonna show them no love right now. But I saw a lot of people reacting very positively to it. What was it like being a part of that moment, man? And I'm sure that had to be another special moment. The fact that, and also that photo that you guys took, or somebody caught of you guys. That's gonna be something that's pretty. I'm sure that's gonna be shared around for years to come.
Oh yeah, I don't think I realized the impact of what we were doing until like 2 days later. Because like when you do like wrestling poses, it's always like the fist in the air. Okay, like Black Power, like the fist in the air. And I know for me specifically, like with my background, like my dad's from Cameroon, so, and I'm like biracial. My mom's from a small town, Wisconsin. I never like grew up with like Black cultural things. I never really understood those things. It went over my head because my dad's an immigrant. Right. So like I grew around like Afro-centric stuff, music, food. I had no idea what like, I don't know, these iconic Black shows are. I don't know. But just seeing like the impact that we have had on kids, like specifically, that is huge to me, because I know one of the reasons why I wanted to get into wrestling is I never saw anyone like myself really doing this. Like you had Farouk, you had like The Rock and Booker T, but The Rock was never positioned as a Black wrestler. It was always like his Samoan heritage. I know like probably Rikishi. There's a couple others that I can't remember at the moment, but like seeing how far we've come now, and like seeing your peers like Biggie, Kofi, Bobby Lashley succeed at the highest level in this business. And like still at this age, I'm getting tears when they win championships, because again, I never saw that stuff growing up. It's just so profound. Like this stuff is really changing people's lives. I'm seeing that we're like people's banners on their social media, and I'm like, that was just a pose to me, but this is so much more for so much, like so many more people. That kind of puts like some weight on your shoulders. But like to see the impact that you have and that you can make in this business for people, I mean, that's life changing.
Yeah, and I think honestly, like sometimes even because you guys are in it, I think you guys like you don't even realize like how many people that you're like positively impacting, and like how many people that you're like even just in wrestling in general. Like I feel like you guys are like helping people get through stuff, or maybe take their minds off of some things they got going on personally, and like you guys just being positive Black influences. I'm pretty sure that's something that you want to continue, and also like take it to the next level if you can. Like it seems like even you and Shane and the rest of ATP, it seems like you guys just really want to continue to promote the culture, and with us, and within that, represent it to the best way possible.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I had to try to remember that too, like being in the wrestling, but like as a fan, no matter what's going on in my life, I remember when I could just turn to like Monday Night Raw and I could just check out for like 2 hours. And I'd get so invested in these stories that I was seeing. But like now being a part of it, like again, you don't even think about what you're doing. You're just like, it's a job, but also it's like this thing that you need to protect, this business you're super passionate about. Because again, like when I ran out, like he was like, just run down and like let's get in the ring and pose. But then thinking like the moment between Shane and Kenny, like the feud that they had, thinking about how those two men have come, like Shane's been wrestling for like 13 years, Kenny's been around forever. Like even the like CB being in ROH, like he's been there, he's been alive for Eli. People are trying to come up, and like all of us having this moment together, like that was just, you got to even think about like Lethal and Gresham main eventing ROH. That within itself is history making, and like I don't think it's getting enough praise and talked about with what that actually is doing for us as the culture, and like how that's going to transcend the time of wrestling nowadays.
And yeah, I think that was a big moment at the end to see Gresham with the ROH World Title. They gave him the OG version of the ROH title. I think that was a really cool thing.
That's the belt that he wanted. So like
exactly.
It's unfortunate Bandito couldn't be around, but like Gresham, I remember when we were at the dojo and he was coaching us, he was telling us about stuff that he wanted to do. And I remember talking to him like, man, like 2 years ago, you were having these ideas, and that's how you come out with these promos, and like you did it, and like you're doing it, and now you set your mind to be one of the best wrestlers, and like literally one of the best wrestlers in the world. That's awesome to see.
And sort of continuing on the topic of representation, Kaun, you're in these locker rooms, you're at these shows. Do you think things are improving as far as representation goes, seeing more Black talents at these shows? And also within that same question, do you think we still have like ways to go of improvement?
That's tough. I think on the indies, I never did the indies, so I think where the independent scene is now, I think it's pretty okay. Like it's pretty diverse. Like I'm down in Texas. There's a lot more black wrestlers than I've ever seen before in my life. So I think at least in that way. And I think there's like a conversation between like diversity and then like blackness in wrestling. Because I think wrestling is super diverse, and it really actually is.
It is. It is. Yeah.
Like I get where people now are like talking about AEW and like having black wrestlers. There's black wrestlers there, and it's a super diverse place. Jade just won the TBS championship. Like it's definitely changed from where it was, I guess, like 10 years ago when I started, maybe 15 years ago when I started watching wrestling. So I think we have to give it credit. It definitely can change even more and be better, but to say that it's not good at where it is and it's not diverse, I don't think that's true.
I think sometimes the word diversity can people might think of it as one way, and I think diversity is like a collection of things. Like that's whether it has something to do with, you know, whether it be black or Asian or Hispanic or just women being involved. That's diversity being included, like having different genders, people of different sexualities. I think that's diversity. Like it's all just one thing. And I think sometimes it gets sort of blended and people maybe think it's one thing. So I think that's maybe where the confusion is as far as like the diversity goes in wrestling. But there are a lot of spots that are diverse if we're talking about just what diversity means in general. But definitely when it comes to, you know, representation for the black community, I think that's something where people want to see it pick up in wrestling in general. I think that's something that a lot of people want to see things starting to you know rift up a little bit, but I think it's happening. Like I think we're seeing a lot of strides and a lot of things are changing in the business and things are becoming more inclusive. So I think the business is like the wrestling business is on an uptick as far as like, you know, representation, but I definitely think we do have ways to go. But I think the only way to do that, man, is just to keep supporting, keep showing love to the wrestlers, man, and that's pretty much the only thing you can do. Because I mean, I ain't running no promotion, so I think the only thing you can, I think the only thing you can do is just, you know, support them. Like when you see a wrestler has a big match or something, just retweet it. You know what I'm saying? Retweet the link or whatever like that. So, you know, I think that's you know probably like the fairest thing you can do. I mean, at least from my perspective.
I completely agree, and I kind of wonder sometimes too, like what exactly are people wanting to the degree? Again, like Big E was just champion, Bobby Lashley was just champion, Kofi was champion. I don't like maybe having more black talent on TV. Okay, I completely understand that. But to say that those people, at least in WWE, are not getting opportunities, I don't see what the issue is. Street Profits are on TV all the time. The Usos, like again, that's it's super diverse actually. So I guess for other companies, I can understand where they're coming from. So we got a long ways to go, but I mean, we're definitely making strides. And again, you get the ROH too. ROH was extremely diverse.
Yes.
Like at least where I was working at, it was super diverse. So I had no complaints there. I think at least the like management talking to talent, there's probably some like quarrels there. Like behind the scenes stuff that people don't know about, there's probably some issues there. But these are super diverse rosters, and the indie scene is, at least down in Texas, is pretty diverse. So
and something I wanted to make sure to mention to you, man. I went to go check out a match that you had. It was on it's up on YouTube. Everybody should go check this out. You had a match with Jacob Fatu for SWE Fury. This was like one of the most entertaining 7-minute sprints that I've seen. Like, and I'm like, for real though, like I think you guys like meshed really well, and you packed so much into this short match. Like it just made me want to see you guys be able to do something on a bigger stage, and also within that, like, you know, just with more time in general. Cause like I feel like you guys were able to, within that short period of time, you were able to establish a baby face heel dynamic, and then like at the same time the crowd would like really react when one of you would do something really, really athletic, and like they would sort of sway a little bit, and then it would kind of, you guys would sort of rock it back and forth. I think you and Fatu like had a really good chemistry with one another, and I definitely think it would be cool to see you guys like do something like on a big. Ain't nothing wrong with SW Fury. I ain't saying it, but I'm saying like I would like to see you guys do something on a more grander scale and with more than 7 minutes, because I feel like you guys just had to jam everything that you wanted in that match, and it was a really good sprint. Like it really was. But I just wonder how that thing would have turned out. Like if you guys would have had like a good 20 minutes, 15 minutes, where you were just able to slow things down a little bit.
Oh, I completely agree. That whole day was just that was just a mess of like putting that together. Because I didn't even know I was wrestling on that show, and then like some things fell through, and I was like, oh, I guess I wrestled Fatu today. That's cool. Damn, I didn't know it was 7 minutes. I appreciate you saying that though. I wasn't super a fan. Like I'm pretty critical of myself in my matches. I wasn't really too happy with it. But Fatu is an amazing athlete. Like, and just getting to wrestle him and like the pedigree that he has and listening to the knowledge and experiences he's had, I learned so much from him just in that short period of time. But he even told me I taught him some things, like the way that I was coached. I think one of the biggest aspects of the business today is people don't sell enough. Like I hear that from old school people all the time. Like registering and selling. I want people to believe that like if I'm especially with babyface, like I want people to believe that I'm in pain. I want people to believe in like the struggle, the fight. That's why I think at least from the matches I do have, like we're able to draw people's emotions in because it's just not all this. It's like, oh, big move. Damn, he might actually be knocked out. Or like if you're diving on me and he's a 300-pound man, I'm collapsing to the ground. Like that dude I just caught a human being. It's like superhuman strength type stuff. So I'm happy that you're a fan of that. I don't think enough people saw that match. It was like a couple hundred people that day, but that like flew under the radar.
Yeah. It definitely, like I highly recommend anybody that's watching this to definitely go check that match. Like it really is a fun sprint to watch because the match went back like that. It was like 7-8 minutes, man. And like I was like, damn, that was it. Like, you know, I felt like you guys still had a lot more to unpack in there. But like something you said that really stuck out is as far as selling goes, like even me from my perspective, watching from a fan's perspective, like it's like I think you can still be a made man or a made woman in wrestling by selling even more than what you can do in the ring. Like I feel like what you like facials and, you know, playing up to the camera that, you know, something's wrong with you and just different facial expressions. Like I always think often, like the first thing that always comes to my mind whenever I'm talking about sort of like you know, selling and stuff like that, I think about that Bret Hart 1-2-3 Kid match when he gave him the arm drag and Bret gave him the little like, he ain't just do that to me. It ain't no way he just did it. Like you that dude, that what was that like in early 1990s when that happened, and people literally still talk about that to this day. So I 100% agree with you in the fact that you can still be a made wrestler with even getting less offense in.
I completely agree. Like Jeff Hardy was my favorite growing up.
Yes.
Like he was my favorite wrestler. And that dude would just take a beating he gets so much sympathy from you. But then once he hit the twisted fate, the swanton bomb, everyone loved Jeff Hardy. But like most of his matches, I remember he's just out here jumping off ladders, laying around on the ground, like he's taking a beating. But like I'll never forget that match he had with Undertaker, the ladder match. And like he was like, I'm still standing. I remember just like being almost on the edge of my seat, like, oh my God, they're about to put the championship on this dude. He loses, but he still got over. And everyone was like standing applause. One of the greatest baby faces pinning my time. So yeah, man, just gotta sell. Just gotta sell.
And Jeff has been I was saying Jeff has been a made man since then. He's been a made man. But like
5 years, like he's still wrestling doing swanton. How is this man not broken in half?
So another match that I wanted to bring up to you, man, and this one maybe not has been like sort of like a fond memory, but like even for me when I was watching, it was when you and STP, you guys were involved in a match that had Todd Sinclair, Ian Riccaboni, and Gary Juster. Now, for me watching, I remember when I think that was it was the one when the fans picked the matches, right? Like that's what that was. I think that was in, I want to say Pennsylvania. I think that's where that was. Like when I initially watched that, I was like, what are we doing? Like, why are they losing to a team that has Gary Juster on there? Like, and I, you know, I'm just like, come on now, like let's be real for a minute. But then at the same time, I was also like, let me not be like over dramatic, because I'm probably thinking like STP is probably like, this is probably fun as hell, you know, it's probably like he ha ha, you know, whatever. But like just from your perspective, like going into that, like what sort of like what sort of side were you on in the moment? Was it kind of like a thing of like like what are we doing? But at the same time, was it also the same feeling of like, all right, this is just fun and games, you know, it's throw away whatever.
I think back then it was probably like twofold. At first, I was like, "What the hell are we actually?" I was like, "Are we actually gonna have to wrestle these people?" Because I don't know how I'm gonna be able to do that.
Right.
I was probably most frustrated about putting my gear on, which takes some time to put my boots on and all that. And then I was like, "Oh, Brian Johnson's gonna be the one wrestling." Cool. At least I'm not like bumping to Todd, but at the same time, like we did the full entrance. People are like, "Oh, they're gonna murder these dudes," and then we just hop off the apron and walk to the back. I was like, if y'all paying my flight to come out here to do this, I mean, I guess I can't complain. Like,
right,
what?
right, yeah.
That's
Are you good?
I'm shocked that you even remember. Like, that's somewhere buried on the network. Like,
that's a funny one. Like they often like sometimes like on the ROH website, like when I go to check out the podcast that they do, like I'll often see like some of like the they'll post like, you know, throwback stuff and stuff like that. And that's one that I think they'll throw up like, you know, every couple months. Like that whole I just want to say that whole concept that they did, that's a unique concept. Like they actually let the fans pick the match. Like that was kind of funny. And we got the result with Toss. I forgot who that was that went on the top and did an elbow drop or something. Like I could not believe it. I think it was Todd. I couldn't believe it. Crazy.
Ian Riccaboni.
Ian Riccaboni. Okay. Yeah.
Todd did the frog. I was shocked that they actually let the fans like 100%. Like they let them choose these matches. Like y'all really had faith in these people to pick. I mean, I guess it was entertaining. People liked it, I guess. So
right. So to close out your 2021, you had the AEW, you had several AEW Dark appearances, Frank Kazarian and Andrade Idolo. So sort of like reflect on that a little bit. How do you think those performances went? I know they were short, but you know, it's still a performance, still a performance. And did you get any feedback from anybody in the back? And you know, just basically just recap those two matches that you had in AEW.
So I was actually supposed to wrestle with Frankie the first time, but his flight, something happened with his travel, so he came to the show late. It's funny because I'm like a huge fan of Andrade. Like I was a huge fan of his at NXT. And I'm like, okay, I'm wrestling this dude. But like I've been watching AEW Dark since they started, and I've been like studying these match structures, and I know they don't get a lot of time. And I think a lot of people do a lot of stuff that doesn't really mean too much. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, I'm just making a moment. I'm just making a moment. And when I was working with Andrade, fortunately, we didn't do too much because why? Like, it doesn't mean anything. There's only 3 or 4 minutes. If I'm trying to show off my physicality and like make a moment, this dude pulled my hair. I slapped the shit out of him. He could slap me back, but I made sure like I had that moment and like, look, I'm not here to play either. Like, this is my opportunity to try to get signed. Came to the back. Mark Henry has been like a huge fan of mine for a couple of years, so like talked to him briefly. He put me over on commentary too, so I definitely appreciate that. He's a legend. So him saying that I have a great physique and I'm an athlete, thank you.
Like same thing. Are you good?
Same thing with Kazarian. That airs, I think, like next Tuesday. Talking to him about like the way that I was trained by Joey Mercury, and like he was at ROH right when he left ROH. That's when I got signed there. So I briefly like crossed paths with him. But same thing with him. Like, hey, we don't have a lot of time. Let's like take this slow. Let's make this work. Let's show the struggle. Let's make this mean something, because that's going to be so much more important to these people than just like do all this stuff. I don't need to wrestle like that. I'd rather show off my physicality. And like came to the back, same thing. Like Mark Henry loved it. Kazarian liked it. Daniels liked it. So I think I'm going back for a couple more opportunities. Hopefully some good things come out of that. But it's been great. Like I know a lot of those people from ROH. I know some people in the office. I got to meet people. Surprisingly, they remember me when I was at ROH and they were there. So it's like a great vibe. It's cool to see people like Austin Gunn, Fuego del Sol, and like catch up with people. So hopefully good things happen in the next few weeks.
It was a success, man. That's what's up. That's what's up. But you might know what's funny about what you just said. Like I had recently interviewed Janai Kai, and she had a match on AEW Rampage against Jade Cargill, and it was like 30 seconds. Like I mean, me and her was laughing about it. I was like, that was a swift one. Like they like that was a quick one. But she was like similar to what you just said. Like she was like, even on AEW Dark, it's kind of like the same thing. She was like, she knew that it was going to be very limited, and she had to find a way to make sure that people remembered her. So she was like doing her entrance, you know, she made sure she did her signature pose, you know, made sure to get a nice little glare at the camera so, you know, people could do screenshots and stuff like that. And she was just basically trying to do anything that she could to make this a memorable moment, even if it was just 30 seconds. And I think that's what something else, something important that you just said is like, even though you know that this is going to be a short experience, like basically, you know, the old phrase, maximize your minutes. Like, and I think both of you guys went out there and did that as best as you could within the time constraints that you had.
Oh yeah, like on one of the matches, I got a con chant. Like the fact that I'm out there for minutes, people chant for me, and even like looking at the camera thing. Again, I was like studying Dark, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna no-sell the camera. Like everyone poses at the camera. Why would I do it? I'm here to like hopefully whoop this dude's ass, or at least show that intensity that I can whoop his ass. So make this different, make this stand out. Like the training, even going into these things prior, like how strict I've been with my diet, doing cardio, just to make sure I look as good as possible in this short amount of time. I think that's like paid off dividends, because again, when I came to the back and people are saying like good job, I'm like getting over with some of the boys. I'm like, I've never even talked to you before. But it's those little things where I think that's gonna make an impact. And Twitter seemed to like it, social media seemed to like what I did with Andrade. So it's all good positive stuff coming out of that.
And you know, you mentioned social media, man. Like I saw a lot of fan support for you after that. Like I saw a lot of tweets about Kaun on AEW. Like I know that just had to be like a really good feeling to know that even though like we just talked about, we just had a conversation about it. Like even though the matches were short, that people were out there to support you, man. Like you had a lot of people sending tweets your way, a lot of people sending screenshots your way. I know that you know, you guys as wrestlers, like, you know, you don't want to like just be like, oh, like every time something big happens to you, or like, you know, you got this big moment, like you accept all this praise. I know some of you guys, you got like really regard it, like, or like, you know, really, you know, just don't want to be like too accepting of everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I feel like, I know that had to be like a really like heartwarming thing to see all these people just come out and support you, man. And like, even if, you know, it was 3 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it is, you had like these groups of people like just, hey, that's Kaun right there. Kaun's on AEW Dark, you know, Kaun's on Dark Elevation. I know that had to be a good feeling right there.
Oh, definitely. Like again, I'm super critical of myself. So I'm like, oh, I could have did this better. I could have did that better. Then see people the way that they're reacting. That's always a great feeling. I just try to like retweet people's stuff. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Like just remain humble with that stuff. I don't want it to get to my head. But at the same time, kind of just like check out of social media, just because it can be like hella overwhelming just to see that. And like people are messaging you. I don't know these people. But like the fact that they're going out of, like, it's funny because I look at the way, like, coming from Minnesota, and like the reason why I left Minnesota, it seems like people like grow up there, they get happy and content, and they just stay there. But these same people are like, oh, I'm gonna support you when I come home for these shows, and like I'm gonna support your brand or whatever, and then they don't. But then like to see people, wrestling fans, come out of the woodwork just for you, like appearing and doing something super small, and how much like just like well wishes and praise. Like the internet can be a crazy place, but at least for like those experiences, it was awesome. It was super heartwarming just to see people like show that support, because I never really had that before.
Yeah. So something else you just mentioned, like I think that's like that's so common amongst a lot of people. It's like people that you don't know, like will legit, like they would show up for you, show out for you, like kind of more often than people that, and it's not that the people that you do know don't support you. I think it's just like a conscious thing. So they're like, I think it's because they know you. It's like because they're behind you. It's like, you know, that's the support. But like when you got people who you never met a day in your life that's like taking screenshots and like, you know what I'm saying? Like they like go all the way out for you guys. And that's something I was always like curious about, because I know it's a bunch of people like in not even just wrestling, just in different fields and different perspectives of life. Like that's like sort of the same thing for them. Like it's people who they don't know that be like, you know, so quote unquote showing out for them more than people that they actually do know. That's like one of the weirdest things. That's like I'm pretty sure you could do like a whole 2-hour podcast trying to like explain like why that happens. But yeah, that's something else. Yeah.
Not like I'm still kind of like socially awkward, so it's super weird when people like come up like, oh, I bought your 8x10s, or I got your shirt. I'm like, oh, thank you, that's great. I don't know what to say. Like even random people now more often than not, like at the gym will come up to me and talk to me. I'm like, that's fine. I'm like in my own headspace working out. But the fact that they're like, oh yeah, I saw you at RCW on Sunday a month ago. That was so cool. Like, hey, where can I get your shirt? I mean, that's like, I got to remember, like me as a fan, I'd go buy people's shirts, or like I'd go support their stuff. But to see people do that for you being the person that they're supporting, it's such like a weird little mind flip where you're like, oh damn, like, no, I truly do appreciate that, the fact that y'all are supporting me, because that goes like a long way, and you don't even know what that means to me. So the fact that you're taking time out to like go find something and spend your money on my stuff, like I can only just say thank you.
And you said that you're like really really reserved person. Is it kind of weird and like at times to like remove yourself out of that and like sort of mentally realize like that you are sort of in the spotlight? So like when people come up to you and they be like, hey, can I get your autograph? Can I do something? Like, is it kind of, you have to like take yourself out of that and be like, oh, I got to remember, like, I was just doing this last week. So that's where they remember me from, opposed to like, cause I mean, to you, you're just like, I'm Kaun. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just me. You know what I'm saying? So like, but when you got people coming up to you asking for your autograph, your 8x10s, like, do you have to sort of like make that like sort of mental switch to be like, oh yeah, let me check back into and actually remember that like you was on TV. You know what I'm saying?
I have people that have to remind me that all the time because in my mind I'm just like, oh, I'm just a regular person.
Right.
Like, this is a job that I do. And like, oh no, you were on national television before.
Right.
You kind of are a celebrity to some extent. That's how people see you. So it is kind of weird to do that switch because like it's funny, you look at like a lot of entertainers, they're super introverted, but then we go out there and perform in front of hundreds of thousands of people. Why do we choose this career that we want to go put ourselves in the spotlight? But then all I want to do is have you leave me alone and just go home. So I'd rather be chilling on my couch watching TV by myself or like go to the movies and just solitude. But then I'm going to go do as many wrestling shows as I can possible where people can see me get exposed even more. So then I like get less of that. I don't know why I do it. I guess I love something about wrestling, but it's hilarious just because when people will catch me like at the grocery store, I'm so in my own world where I'm like, oh, okay, this person that you saw, I need to like become this person real quick and then go back to shopping or whatever.
Yeah. That's funny, man, because I feel like there's a lot of people in this world, man, that are really like the same way. We are all sort of similar in a certain way, or most of us is like, I know I can be very like just to myself and like I can be somewhere and you probably wouldn't even know I was there, to be honest with you. Like even when I go do like certain like media stuff or like media scrums, I can be very socially active. I can be that quote unquote social what's the word they call it, social butterfly. That's what they call it. Like I can definitely be that person, but like when I'm like it's times when I'm just like I just need to be in this space by myself. Like I don't want to talk, probably throw my headphones in. Like it's so funny, man. Like seeing like, especially for somebody that's actually in your position, that you are the same way. But like you mentioned, it's a lot of entertainers, man. Like, people that have been doing, that's been film and acting for decades that are really pretty much the same way. Like they just naturally reserved people. And like we tend to be the coolest people 9 times out of 10. 9 times out of 10.
I completely agree because people are always just like, you're so reserved. And I'm like, but that's actually who I am as a person. What you see is like, it is me, it's turned up. It's me living my childhood fantasy of I wanted to become a wrestler since I was 10 years old. And like the real person, like again, headphones on, like listening to music, just chilling. I'd rather be standing in the corner of the room, just like, don't look at me. I'm cool chilling in the corner by myself.
And going back to the wrestler, man, like talk to me about Moses, man. Like to have somebody on your side right there from day one, like, yeah, basically like to know that you got somebody in this business that you've been there with from the start and that has your back unconditionally. Like just talk to me about you guys' relationship, man, and just how things have grown and on screen, of course, and then like just how you guys have like just formulated this bond, man. That's it's clearly just evident on screen.
As honestly, probably thanks to RJ. I remember he started like a year before me when we started wrestling, and then I think my first or second day he got hurt and like I think he tore his meniscus, so he was out for a little bit. But I remember when he came back, like talking about diversity, I was looking at the landscape of NCW and I was like, okay, there's no tag teams here really, and there's no black tag teams. So if we team together, they're going to have to put us on the show. Like they're going to have to do that because there's a spot that needs to be filled. So I remember talking to him about that idea and to see like the fruition of that happen. But I remember when we pitched the idea to RJ and Dean, like, hey, kind of want to tag. So we started tagging a little bit, doing these birthday parties. And RJ would be like, did y'all talk today? I'm like, no, we talk at practice. He's like, you guys need to talk every single day. I do not care what you're doing. He's like, you need to text each other. You need to call each other. Y'all need to like, that's how good tag teams become a great bond, become great tag teams. They talk every day. They become actual friends. So like in my head, it was just like, okay, we'll be wrestling tag team partners. But then once that happened, like we actually got starting to know each other. We're like super similar, kind of like same way that we grew up with like our relationships with our parents and like the stuff that we're into, to the point where like, I remember even Joey Mercury was like, all right, wherever one of you are, the other one has to be. We always have to be. one another, because like you need to be presented in people's mind as a tag team. So then working out together, going to shows together, driving together. And it's all that time you spend with someone where you just like, you become build this bond, you become like have this friendship. And then like it's funny because people be like, are y'all brothers? I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
I used to think that. I used to think that. I used to think y'all were brothers.
We both happen to have locks for the same amount of time. Like now he's getting tatted up. We just happen to be into the same stuff. We're always on one another. And like, I know for me too, like getting into wrestling is such a scary thing when you're by yourself out there. So to be in a tag team, and like I remember when we first started wrestling, I'm like, oh no, you can go first. Like I was hella uncomfortable, but it felt so much more comfortable having, like you said, someone right there in my corner, like me being in his corner, just having someone live with you all the time. To now, like we kind of are just brothers. Like we still talk all the time. I know that I moved down here, but talking all the time, rooming together when we're doing ROH. Now we're both kind of doing like our own little indie things, trying to get some like experience doing some singles stuff. He just had like a championship match at MCW twice, like against Brian Johnson twice. He's doing CZW. Like we're both kind of getting out here, and it's cool to just see. I think both of us like how far we've grown in 5-6 years since we've been in wrestling. And like he just came down here a few months ago. We just tagged on some indie scene stuff, man. Like
that's up.
He's probably one of my greatest friends. It's funny that we just like we'll see funny stuff. We'll just text each other. Like we have the same kind of humor. So, I mean, he's a great dude.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm glad that y'all were able to like formulate that bond, and then like it goes beyond, you know, you two just working together. Because I think like even like you can even compare it to like something like high school, and I'm gonna get to the point. It's like you cool with people, right? Like you become really good friends with these people, but I think it's more so because you see them every day, and then like once you know you guys go in like different schools and stuff, sort of lose contact, and you hear that for years. Like that's how it goes. So I'm glad that, you know, even though you guys are in different states, still in contact, and then like you said, he came down, and you know you guys did some tag stuff. And who's to say a Sons of Savagery reunion can't happen, you know, in another major promotion? Like, you know. It's a lot of time in a year, man. A lot of things can change. You never know what could happen. But like I did want to talk to you about STP. Like I know Shane has spoken about it. I've heard Ron Hunt speak about it. Like and I think I've heard you and Moses speak about it as well. Like, you know, you guys do want to keep the unit together in a sense, and like still want to, you know, do certain stuff together. Like I know you guys have probably had different conversations and stuff, but like I know it also can be difficult to move 5 different bodies at one time on the independent scene. Like I know that can't be easy with different people living in different states, time zones. Like I know that has to be like it can be a hassle.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing sometimes we run into is just like cost. Honestly, like definitely traveling places, but like we're a collective, right? It's like 5 people, so a lot of these indie shows, that they don't have the funds, I understand where it could be possibly a struggle. We have talked about it, like if anything, we try to keep STP together. I understand like the politics, not the politics, but like the struggle of bringing 5 people into wherever. But I've said this with them, like if people get opportunity places, why wouldn't you support your brother and get this opportunities? And that opens the door. Like you can't help people get into the door if the door is closed. So if someone can open that door for you, then you can help pull your brothers through.
Right. Yeah. I get that for sure. But Kaun, lastly, yeah, man, if you got anything you want to plug, merchandise, whether it be, you know, social media, anything you got. I don't know if you're a Twitch streamer, if you're doing that too. If you're doing that too, please plug everything. I'm gonna make sure I plug it in the description of this video.
No Twitch, just Instagram at @Kaun, Twitter @TheKaun. I just dropped a new shirt, just like a little Kaun brand logo my homeboy made for me. Everything's at What a Maneuver. I got a couple shirts on there. I know Moses and I got a Pro Wrestling T-shirt store. So if anything, just watch out for me at AEW Dark next week. I'm taking on Kazarian, so that should be some good things happening in the future.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Andrew Thompson at the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel, signing off with the man himself, Kaun, and we are out. Peace.